There has been quite a few characters on the vast Chicago sports scene over the years, and not just on the field or court. George Ofman, who spent nearly a half-century covering the biggest athletes and events this city has ever seen, has written a new revealing book debuting today, and it's titled, Tell Me a Story I Don't Know. Conversations with Chicago sports legends. And joining me now live in studio is my good friend George Ofman. And George, congratulations on your very first book. It's a collection of vignettes from podcast interviews you did with dozens of notable people who either played, managed, or covered sports in Chicago. After so many decades in radio, writing, reporting, and talking about sports, how did you decide to change course to get into podcasting and eventually becoming an author?
Well, a little over 3 years ago, I was working at WBBM News Radio, and they decided
our sister station.
I was going to be the COVID casualty. And out I went, stunningly. A couple of weeks later, I said, you know what, I'm going to take my shot at trying to do a podcast. 6 months later, we debuted. I've interviewed just about 100 people. And about a year and a half ago, I approached Triumph Books. I said, I've got an idea. And they bought the idea, and they've been great about it. We wrote 50 vignettes. And obviously the research was already there. That was great.
Because you already had these podcasts you were doing and dropping them once a week or once a month?
Once a week, 48 times a year.
Yeah, so you had quite a collection in the can, as we like to call it.
Yes.
In TV radio talk, you had it already done.
Yep.
But as I look, I mean, on the cover, Joe Madden, Ozzie Guillen, Paul Sullivan, Jason Benetti, Dan Hampton, Chris Chelios, Michael Wilbon, Mike Greenberg wrote the foreword, and I dare use the word celebrity because somehow I made the cut and you included me in this book from one of your podcasts. How can that be?
You're the best one.
I don't know about the best one, but I did, as people know, a long-time sportscaster here in Chicago before switching to morning news. So how did you come up with this concept?
Well, the idea was actually an inspiration by a young man named Lawrence Holmes, who works at the store.
Friend, sure.
He does a podcast, and it was he interviewed me one day, and I said, wow, that was great. 2 years later, I said, I'm going to do a podcast, but I'm going to kind of go in that direction. So I used my radio experience and interviewed a lot of these people whom I know for years. Bob Costas, another one. Greeny was the first person he ever worked with professionally. Was me back in 1989. The only difference between me and Greeny now is just the zeros behind our check.
He has quite a few more commas, that's for sure. Real quick, dive into some of the, because I don't want to give it away. It's truly stories you don't know. We know how big sports is in Chicago. What conversations or stories in the book really jump out to you that readers will want to take a dive into?
Well, I would think that you would be one of them, for sure. And I'm not going to give this away, but this involves Ryan when he was the basketball manager at the University of Illinois, and it was a dare. It involves the lack of clothing.
Yeah, this was back in 1988. Shall we, let's just say it's the naked truth. That is a fact.
It's true.
It is the naked truth. You know what? I don't say this just because I've known you for a long time. You've been so gracious in the 20-plus years I've known you, but this is truly a great book. I had a hard time putting it down. Real page-turner. Could be a great stocking stuffer for the holidays.
I would think so. Ladies, get it for your guy. It's a great book. It's fun read, and there's a lot of stories in there that if you didn't listen to the podcast, you can read 50 different vignettes from a whole bunch of people that a lot of sports fans know here in Chicago.
Well, the book, again, is Tell Me a Story I Don't Know, a conversation with Chicago sports legends. It's available at bookstores today and on Amazon. Again, congrats. And I think Laura and Jackie are going to buy this book just to find out something about me that I've never shared. I don't know how I end up telling you. Now the world knows.